2021 NFL Draft. The Denver Broncos select Pat Surtain Jr., defensive back, Alabama.
Thursday night, the Denver Broncos chose the #1 defensive player on their board, Alabama cornerback Pat Surtain II, who made the trip today from Cleveland to the Mile High City. What an upgrade. We are so glad to have him here. Centennial Airport, you guys see him getting in the car, making his way to the UC Health Training Center to meet and greet the staff and the media. Hello, everyone, and welcome inside the Broncos Media Center for another edition of Broncos Draft Live presented by Bud Light. We have such a fun show planned for you tonight so you can get to know the newest member of Broncos country. Throughout the next hour, you will hear from Pat Surtain himself. You'll also hear from Broncos left guard Dalton Risner, who will share his thoughts on the newest addition to the Broncos locker room. And of course, we will hear from General Manager George Paton, as well as head coach Vic Fangio throughout this show as well. Now, don't forget, throughout the draft here tonight, you could take part in the NFL Draft-a-thon, a virtual fundraiser focusing on real issues facing our hardest hit communities. Visit NFL.com/draftathon now to learn more and donate to deserving charities supporting the digital divide and education, health disparities, food insecurity, and mental health. One way you can actually support these causes right here within our Colorado community is by heading to dbron.co/draft and bidding on unique autographed items throughout the Denver Broncos draft auction. All proceeds will benefit Denver Broncos charities, and you will have until this Saturday at noon to get your bids in. Time now to bring in your Broncos Draft Live coverage crew. Of course, we have the one and only Matt Boyer, Phil Milani, Sidney Jones. You guys, what a crazy first round it was. 7 offensive players taken and then 2 defensive players back to back. Broncos obviously taking Pat Surtain. Matt, what was your initial reaction to the Broncos pick?
I was a fan of it, Alexis. I thought that Pat Surtain fit exactly what the Broncos want to do. Vic Fangio is famous for saying you can never have too many corners. And, night one is that glitz and glamour night. But I think Patrick Surtain's game, is really tough, hardworking. He takes a very hardworking approach to his game and a professional approach in the NFL. I'm going to get a chance to talk with him here in a little bit. Also had a chance, as you mentioned, to talk to Dalton Risner, a round 2 guy. He's going to give us some insight into what round 2 guys mean to an NFL team. But for more on the draft tonight, let's head over to Phil Milani, who's outside the Broncos draft room. Phil.
Matt, thank you very much. Yeah, a couple of positions the Broncos might address tonight here. Inside linebacker, offensive line. But for me personally, I'd like to see them maybe take a chance on a running back, Javonte Williams out of North Carolina. The guy just breaks tackles and scores touchdowns. So I'd like to see them go that route. Love the Surtain pick yesterday. I think the Broncos stuck to their board, took the best player overall. So a little bit later on in the show, I'll be chatting with George Paton and Vic Fangio and see what their approach is here to round number 2. Sydney?
And guys, let's not forget that Courtland Sutton was drafted by the Broncos 40th overall in 2018. So I know we're all excited to see if the Broncos can grab another guy like him. But Broncos country, we want to know all of your thoughts and reaction from last night and tonight. So make sure to tweet at us using the hashtag Broncos Draft. I'll be looking through some of those tweets tonight, and I'll be highlighting one of them later on in the show. So be on the lookout. Alexis, back to you.
Thanks so much, Sydney. Well, like Matt just mentioned, you can never have too many defensive playmakers, and that's exactly what the Denver Broncos got last night. And Pat Surtain, for those of you who don't know, he was a unanimous first-team All-American, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, and he was first-team All-SEC. And let's be honest, he was the #1 corner in this draft, according to Pro Football Focus, Dane Brugler from The Athletic, and a plethora of other draft experts. So, it's really only a matter of time before he starts racking up the NFL accolades as well. So until we could see his NFL highlights, I figured we could take a look back at some of his greatest plays from his time at Bama. know the Broncos' first-round pick a little bit better. To help us do that, here's Matt Boyer, joined now by Pat Surtain himself.
Thank you, Alexis. Pat Surtain, welcome to Broncos country.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Let's go back 12 hours, because in the last 12 hours, you were on stage in Cleveland, shaking the commissioner's hand, and now you're in your new home. Describe to me what the last 12 hours of your life has been like.
It's been hectic, but, it's been a blessing at the same time, a blessing in disguise. Just going through this process, a humbling experience, of course, just getting drafted, of course, to Denver. I'm just taking it in as I go through the whole organization and the whole process.
Describe to me getting off the plane, because I know people say, you get off the plane, you see the mountains in the distance. What was it like for you to get off the plane, breathe in that mountain air? What was it like? Yeah,
I actually seen Rocky Top Mountains over there. I've seen a lot of mountains. The views are terrific. I just can't wait to be out here, just live out my dream.
You mentioned in your press conference you feel like you're an all-around sound corner. What type of skills does an all-around sound corner possess? Specifically, what does your game bring here to Denver?
My game brings a lot of things, specifically as far as a technical standpoint. I think out of every corner in the draft class, I feel like I was the most experienced playing. I had the most press snaps, but also I could play in a variety of schemes as well. I could play nickel as well, corner. So, I just think that, and I'm also physical, and I could come up to run support as well, too, and I could play the ball at the highest point. Just those things I think will help me translate to the NFL.
George Paton said that he didn't have any doubts about your character, knowing your father and your family, doing a little bit of background on you. What role did your dad, sisters, your entire family, what role did they have in getting you ready for this moment?
Yeah, they played a terrific role in my life. I just think that learning from them each and every day, them grooming me into the man I am today, I just can't thank them enough. They're very, very hands-on with me, making sure I had my head straight, just keeping me focused at the right times.
When you look back at your football career, you had your dad as a coach, but then you also had one of the greats, Nick Saban, as a coach as well at Alabama. When you look at your film, or when somebody looks at your film, what can you point to that said, that's where Coach Saban helped me the most, or that's where Coach Saban turns up on film?
If you look at the film, just eliminate all the physical traits, of course, all the athletic traits. But if you just go to the IQ part of the game, just me recognizing plays, me communicating out there, being a vocal leader, that's what I think could help carry on into the NFL. Communication, having a high IQ, because I learned in the league you could be how athletic as you want to, talented as you want to, but if your IQ not right, it could turn away from you fast. So I just think build on my IQ, of course, learn from him each and every day, help me shape up to the next level.
Plenty of Crimson Tide alums in the NFL, including right here. We've got Jerry Jeudy, who you know well, Kareem Jackson, one of the first recruits at Alabama for Coach Saban. What's that fraternity like, that Alabama pipeline in the NFL? I mean, what's it like? Is there a group text? Is there what's it like coming in here with that fraternity?
Just each and every year is expected. It's a factory. Alabama reloads. You're going to expect high picks from them each and every year. I think it's going to keep on going. The tradition going to still stay alive to next year and the years ahead. I think just going based on that program and what they do there, I think, they set their players up to be in this position.
When you think about being a leader of this draft class, first-round picks are usually looked at as, probably being the leader of a draft class, so to speak. How comfortable are you with that role and being kind of the leader, the face of the Broncos 2021 draft class?
Yeah, I love to, carry that role, being the face of the 2021 class. I'm a tremendous leader. I lead by example very well. I think that's what I do best, leading by example, being a positive impact in the locker room. I think those specific traits will help me.
Last one for you. I know you've got a terrific career ahead of you, and this is only day one. But, thinking ahead, have you thought about what you want to accomplish and what lies ahead for you at all in your NFL career? Obviously, your dad's been in the league, but, are there certain goals that you have set right now?
Yeah, so right now I know I'm a rookie. I'm focused on the team goals, of course, focused on team aspirations, getting into that championship, hopefully, just building on team progression.
Well, I know Broncos country loves to hear anything dealing with championships, so I can't wait to see what happens for you next. congratulations. Best of luck going forward, and we look forward to seeing you back here in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Alexis, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks so much, Matt. We are looking forward to seeing the kind of impact that he can make on the field this season. I'm sure head coach Vic Fangio has a few ideas of how he could use Surtain's unique skill set on the field this year. Speaking of Coach Fangio, let's go ahead and send it over to Phil Milani, who's standing by with the coach right now. Phil?
Vic, you finally get Pat Surtain in the building here. When you stand next to him, boy, he's got a presence, huh?
Yeah, he's obviously got some size to him. Probably the biggest corner that I can think of offhand. I'd have to think a long ways back that I've coached. So it's always good to have size out there, but it's always hard to find size and a good corner, and we think we found the combination.
He can move, huh?
Yeah, he can run. He's got good movement. We wouldn't have drafted him when we did if he couldn't.
Heading into day 2 now, what is a priority? What areas do you hope to address?
I think it's still like George has always said, we got the 8th pick in the 2nd round, and we're looking at the best guy left on the board. And we'll see how that shakes down. We've got 8 guys, which we'd be happy with, so we just don't know which one will fall to us yet, and we'll see how it shakes.
We'll let you get back to it. Thank you very much, Vic.
All right, thank you.
Back to you in the studio.
Thanks so much, Phil. Vic Fangio, he has studied the film. He knows what Pat Surtain, what he will bring to the field and into this locker room this year. But I think it's safe to say there is no one who knows Pat Surtain II better than the guy that he shares his name with. That's Patrick Surtain I. Let's send it over to Sydney Jones, who is standing by with the 3-time Pro Bowler. Sid?
We are here with Pat Surtain Sr., who just flew into Denver after his son was drafted 9th overall to the Broncos last night. Pat, thanks for being here. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Thanks for having us.
Just to start, how proud are you of your son? A top 10 pick and now a Denver Bronco?
Oh, man, extremely proud as a father. Obviously, as a parent, you always want your kids to exceed you professionally. And, he's in the same profession. He went the 1st round, I went the 2nd round, and it's just, remarkable to see his growth and where he's come from to now being the number 9 pick in the draft. So I'm excited to see, where this leads to.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You played in the NFL for years, the 3-time Pro Bowler. You've been through this process, but how exciting was it this time around to watch your son go through the process?
It was awesome. Obviously, it's more nerve-wracking with it being your son than myself. And obviously technology is different and everything. The draft is more glorified or what have you. But just to see the emotions on his face and to have family around, that's what it's all about. So, really, really happy for him because I know the hard work and the dedication it took, for him to get to this point. Now to be at such a prestigious franchise like the Denver Broncos, he has the opportunity to really, really be special. So I'm excited to see, where this leads to.
Yeah, how did you go about supporting him throughout his career? Did you kind of guide him to the game, or did he seek it out himself?
You know what? He was just around it at a very young age. He was born in 2000, so I would take him to the practices, and he would run around the field at 1, and he just fell in love with it. I didn't push him into it. It's just something that came natural to him, and that naturalness, you saw it on the football field with the movement skills and just everything that came along with it. So, and obviously he grew into his body, and probably from 9th grade, I say he has a chance to really be special and probably play on Sundays. And obviously he matured. He became the number 1 corner in high school. He made freshman All-American at Bama, Defensive Player of the Year this past year, 1st team All-American. And I knew that he had a chance to go pretty high. So he's living the dream. It's something that he's dreamt about his whole life, and it's finally here. So really, really happy for him.
Yeah, when he first started playing the game, were you vocal in coaching him at all, or did you kind of take a back seat on that?
I was kind of hard on him. Because you don't realize you want him to be as good as you early, but I knew it was going to take some work. And, I coached him in Little League and then middle school. And then when I got to high school, I kind of let his position coach handle him because I was the head coach. So some other guys had a part of, his development. And obviously when he got to Alabama, Coach Saban and, those defensive coaches had something to do with it. So I kind of took my foot off the gas. But when he needed to hear the real things, I gave him the real things. And I think that what makes him so great. He's coachable, and he can take constructive criticism when need be, and really study the game and see what he needs to improve on.
Like you mentioned, you watched him grow throughout his entire year. You watched his game grow. How do you hope to see him continue to grow at the next level?
It's going to be the kind of mentality that he has. He wants to be one of the best to ever do it. So I know he's going to go into it with a professional focus. He's going to keep his head down and work and try to learn from the veteran guys, but at the same time, go in there and compete, and to be the starting cornerback. And that's the whole mindset. Even though they have some veterans on the team, come September, I'm going to be the starter out there. And obviously they picked him ninth for a reason to be out there and starting game one. So that's his mindset, that's his focus. And like I said, I'm really, really excited to see where this leads to.
Well, you having been here, what advice are you giving him now as he makes his next step in his career?
Just remain professional. Obviously, at this level, there are no off weeks. Everybody's in the league is good. So you can't take it easy. I'll always have that next play mentality. You're going to have some up and downs in the NFL. Things are not going to go your way all the time. Learn how to deal with adversity and move on. Move on to the next play, the next day, the next game. And obviously, God gave him an ability to be a playmaker. So we'll see where it goes.
All right, last question for me. Who's better, you, Pat?
Well, obviously, I'm a comparator also. I'm better right now because he hasn't played a snap in the NFL.
Good point.
But he has the potential to be really, really special, but he has to prove it. And he knows that, and that's going to be my message to him. Go prove it. And I know he's looking forward to it.
Well, we're looking forward to it here in Broncos country, too. Pat, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sid. So nice to hear from the original Pat Surtain. But now, for a little less biased opinion, I met up with Mike Renner from Pro Football Focus, ESPN's Steve Levy, and Lindsey Jones from The Athletic to get their thoughts on the Broncos' new corner. Take a listen. Mike, you said yesterday that you felt like quarterback Justin Fields would actually be the best fit here for the Denver Broncos, and he was still on the board with the Broncos selected at number 9. So how surprised were you when you heard the Denver Broncos select Patrick Surtain?
I was very surprised for a number of reasons. Now, you had that Aaron Rodgers news early in the day, so the quarterback position, you didn't necessarily know if that was going to be in play at 9, but they have multiple cornerbacks now. They've signed 3 free agent cornerbacks in the last couple of years. They have that position seemingly on lock. Once they got Kyle Fuller, everyone kind of just took the cornerbacks, whether it was Horn, Surtain, off kind of the draft board for the Broncos there, but then they still turn on the card, which I respect. It's the most valuable position. You're in a division with the Chiefs. You're in a division now with Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. You're going to have to stop the pass. So to get a guy like Pat Surtain, well, he's going to help doing that.
I think this was a sign of the Broncos trying to stay true to their board and the way that they had their players rated. And I think we're seeing a lot of the Vic Fangio influence because adding Surtain to a defense that already has a couple really good cornerbacks, obviously Justin Simmons on the back end is one of the best safeties in the NFL. It's going to give Fangio a ton of flexibility with that secondary.
He's got great ability. I'm a massive fan of anyone that comes out of Nick Saban's program. And for my money, I think we had the same conversation last year about Jerry Jeudy, Alexis. And, Alabama players are about as close to the NFL as you have in college, the way they practice, the way they prepare there. And I think he's like a turnkey. When you buy a house, you buy a turnkey house, you're ready to move in. He is a plug and place guy. He's going to be there. He's ready to roll. He is not a developmental guy. He's ready to go in a very tough division, I think.
Well, Surtain, he was the highest graded corner according to PFF over the last 2 seasons. So tell us, what are the Denver Broncos actually getting in Patrick Surtain?
Yeah, he was the number 1 cornerback on PFF's draft board. You're getting a very high floor. I mean, it reminds me a lot of kind of Antoine Winfield coming out last year. We could tell that this guy's dad played in the NFL from the first snap to the last snap. You watch him, just so consistent. And I think that's the biggest thing he brings to the table is that the amount of times where he really got either out of position or burnt, you can count him on one hand on his tape this past year or the past couple of years at Alabama. And I think that's the biggest thing with him is just the certainty you're getting with a guy like that. He's exceptional in press. His technique is excellent. A little limited athletically. He's a little tall. and it doesn't have quite the hips of, an elite sort of Jair Alexander or someone like that. Okay. But I think you're just getting a very solid guy who has the length and size to match up with pretty much anyone.
In the NFL, you got a lot of great corners that are 5'11", and so when you get a chance to get a guy who's 6'2 plus, and he does not mind coming up and hitting. And so I think I'm not surprised they had him as the best corner available. I know J.C. Horn is terrific and everything. Carolina taking them right in front of the Broncos, but because of the size and skill that Surtain brings, he's great in any defense, and he can play. He can play man, he can play zone, and he will come up and play against the run too. And a lot of corners traditionally don't like to hit and get involved in that running game. He'll take some people on. So I think his assets are his size, and also where he comes from. It's not just Alabama. The fact, as I mentioned, his dad played in the league at a very, very high level. So he's grown up around it. Nothing is going to surprise him. The lights won't be too bright for him. So I think he's got it all going on. For you, in your mind, what would a successful season look like for Patrick Surtain here in Denver?
Yeah, I think I think he needs to start. I think he needs to play a lot. I'd love to see a couple interceptions. I'd love to see him be part of a defense that does a really good job of slowing down the Chiefs and the Chargers, two teams who have, the Chiefs obviously have one of the best offenses in the NFL, and the Chargers are putting together what looks like should be one of the best offenses in the NFL. So, the Broncos know that they need to slow those teams down if they want to compete in the division, let alone in the conference. So, I want to see him start every week. I want to see him stay healthy, and I want to see him, make some impactful plays. The Broncos only got 2 interceptions out of their cornerback group last year. So adding Kyle Fuller is going to help there. Ronald Darby is going to help there. But, I'd love to see Patrick Surtain, take on some number 1 receivers in the NFL as a rookie and come away with some interceptions.
I think carving out a starting role. Now, obviously, you got 2 veterans, established guys there. I think if he beats one of them out, that's a successful rookie season. Because as we saw around the NFL last year, rookie quarters did not have a good year. Like Jeffrey Okudah got torched. You saw guys not even be able to start for their respective teams because it is a difficult transition. Like the game is just completely different going from college to the NFL at that position. So I think to me, if he, beats one of those 2 guys out, that's a successful rookie season. So, in college, like he had numbers, he had the stats. Yep. When you're the defensive player of the year in the SEC, that's really saying something, obviously. He'll be tested. He's still, as good as he is, he's still a rookie cornerback in the NFL, and he's going to be tested. So I know the Broncos, every defense coordinator, you want to turn people over. I know the interception numbers for the Broncos have not been good at the cornerback position. So we'll see. He'll have his opportunities. And again, it's in the division. It's Patrick Mahomes checking on him all the time, testing him right. The Chargers have the offensive rookie of the year, Justin Herbert, at quarterback. So he's got a year under his belt, and the Raiders are always going to be about the vertical passing game. So I think he'll be tested. Interception numbers can be funny because it's based on, how many times they're going to throw at you. And I think they probably stayed away from him in college because he was so good. Right. And in the NFL, he'll have many more opportunities. So I don't know if there's a number. I think a successful season, Denver getting back to the playoffs probably means that Patrick Surtain had a good rookie season.
A big thank you to Mike Renner, Lindsey Jones, and Steve Levy for their insight on Patrick Surtain, whose life changed with a single phone call last night from Broncos general manager George Paton. Let's listen in.
Patrick.
How you doing?
This is George Paton, Denver Broncos. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Are
you excited?
Yes, sir.
Good.
I can't wait.
Can't wait to get you here. If you're half the player your dad was, we got a hell of a football player.
Yes, sir.
I was with your dad in Miami. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, man, he told me stories. I'm so excited right now, man. I can't.
Hey, all right, we're fired up. You're the guy we wanted all along. So we're going to turn the pick right now. You celebrate. Coach Fangio's going to come over here and say a few words, but we'll talk to you after. Celebrate. Enjoy your family. We're fired up, man, okay? And tell your dad I said hello. Here's Coach Fangio, okay?
Patrick.
How you doing, Coach?
Good. How are you? Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're very happy to get you. Didn't know if it would happen, but turned out our way.
Man, I'm so happy. I'm so excited.
And we got the best corner in the draft.
You heard the call. You had hands raised when the pick was made. What do you think? What did you think when you heard Patrick Surtain II?
I thought this is a win. There's nothing else that can go wrong today. We have one of the best corners. Now, there's another guy, Caleb Farley, who I thought was a good corner as well. He had back surgery. But Patrick Surtain, this is a win, a certain win. The guy can cover, especially on the outside. He can run. He's physical. He does everything you want to do. And, he's a top corner. He's played against some top competition. So we're fortunate to get him at 9.
I know when we talked about corners a couple weeks ago, he was high. You were high on him. You loved the skills. You loved the way he used his hands. Unanimous first-team All-American Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC in 2020. The guy's got everything. But Steve, how did he get on the field?
That's going to be a challenge. But he's a competitor, and he grew up with his dad. I'm sure coaching all of his teams and giving them all the tips of a Pro Bowl NFL corner. He's got the tricks of the trade, and his dad has taught him well. So, if anybody can get on the field, Patrick Surtain II is going to be able to get on the field.
Steve, we have to address the elephant in the room, and that is quarterback was on the board. There were 2 good ones, and Mac Jones. I know you like Mac Jones. A lot of people like Justin Fields.
Yeah, between the two, I would have definitely taken Justin Fields, and both of them were there. But, again, that says to me that, hey, we feel okay about Drew Lock. We are confident that Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater will be able to get the job done. And that's not saying that they may not draft a quarterback here in the 2nd or 3rd or 4th round, but at least for right now, we feel like we can't – we didn't draft a guy who extremely high, so we got to feel okay with the guys we have in the room.
How much of this pick, Steve, do you think speaks to where the NFL is going? We heard from Coach Fangio last week, 3 wide is becoming very, very common. You're in a nickel defense a lot of the time, dime defense. How is this where the NFL is headed? Do you need to have 4 or 5 good corners in order to survive in the NFL?
5 or 6.
Okay.
You got to, because you got to take into account injuries. We had a rash of injuries last year. Hopefully we won't ever have that many injuries again, significant injuries in the defensive backfield, specifically the cornerback position. So, I know Fangio, he doesn't ever want to go through that again. But, you definitely got to have, several corners and be deep at that position, because, you're covering the fastest, speediest, most talented guys on the offensive side of the ball with those wide receivers, especially in our division. Man, we got the Chiefs, we got the Raiders, and we have who's the other team in our division?
The Chargers.
The Chargers.
Come on, Steve.
Yeah, but the Chargers, they haven't been as strong. They got a strong quarterback. We got to have the corners that can cover, and adding Surtain to the room is going to be a shot in the arm.
So corner, Steve, got that covered. Day 2 now. Okay, let's look ahead a little bit. What else? What did the Broncos need to address?
You don't need to ask this. You already know my answer.
No, it's going to be linebacker.
Thank you.
It's going to be linebacker. Why? Yeah, I know you like Nick Bolton from Missouri. I know there's a lot of other needs. So you want to see the Broncos address linebacker, tackle, maybe? Where are we going here?
Yeah, tackle at some point. Not with 2 though. For me,
we're talking, and this can be this can be Friday or this can be Saturday.
Okay. Oh, so yeah.
To the end of the draft, 6 more rounds.
Okay. Definitely linebacker, safety. And I'm like Al, we got to get a running back at some point. Don't know if I want him in the 2nd round, but I definitely want to add a running back to the room for some depth. And then I'll still add another interior defensive lineman, another just super nasty guy who, got good stuff off the field. But man, when he gets on the field, he's a monster. And I know a lot of people want another offensive lineman. I'm okay if we roll it just with the offensive lineman that we have, although, hey, some contracts are coming up.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of money that's going to be freed up. But, we can address that next year.
We will check in with the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and Matt Boyer here in just a little bit. But before the draft gets underway, now would be a good time to set your DVR to record all of our Broncos television programming. I start us off with Broncos Beat every Monday. This week, I'll have 3 of your favorite beat reporters to take a deep dive with me into the 2021 NFL Draft Class. Then Tuesday through Thursday, Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Albright bring their Broncos Country Tonight radio show on KOA to television. Then on Friday, Matt Boyer and Steve Atwater cap the week off with Broncos Weekend. All of these shows air every weeknight at 6:30 on KTVD Channel 20 in Denver and at 7 o'clock Mountain Time on the Broncos YouTube channel. Also, be sure to keep checking into our virtual war room presented by Bud Light on DenverBroncos.com and the Broncos social channels over the next few days for all of the Broncos draft content your heart could ever desire. Behind-the-scenes footage, interviews with the draftees, and so much more. That's at Broncos on Twitter and Instagram. You can search Denver Broncos on YouTube and Facebook or head to DenverBroncos.com. Now let's take a quick look inside the Broncos draft room. It looks quiet. Everybody seems concentrated, focused on what's to come here in just a little bit. We're about a half hour away from the start of night 2. You guys be sure to tune into NFL Network, ESPN, or ABC at 5 o'clock tonight. And don't forget, round 4 will get underway at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now let's go ahead and check in with one of my favorite day 2 guys of all time, Dalton Risner. He's with Matt Boyer. Matt?
Thank you, Alexis. Dalton, last night I know a lot of our fans didn't really know how things were going to go. When you heard the news that it was Patrick Surtain II, what was your thinking getting that really great corner from Alabama?
I mean, shoot, man, he looks like a great football player. And, you got to have faith in your organization and what they believe. I had the opportunity to run into George Payton this morning when I was there getting COVID tested and working out, and he was ecstatic about the pick. He thinks that the guy's a great player and he's going to be a great addition to the Broncos. And I believe the heck out of him, man, so I'm glad to have him. Like I said, they took a chance on me 2 years ago, and everyone believed in me, so I got to be excited for them.
When you think about, this time 2 years ago when you were getting picked, what was going through your mind? Obviously, you don't know which way the draft is going to go, first round, second round, third round. What kind of emotions are these second round guys today going through?
It's a lot of emotions, man, especially because we're all competitive football players, and everyone in the draft believes they should be drafted first round. So whenever I was getting drafted, man, I wanted to go first round. I was competitive. I was upset that I didn't. But God works in crazy ways, and I'm so glad that, I didn't go somewhere that wouldn't be home. I'm glad that I ended up at the Denver Broncos, the place that I wanted to be at. So the emotions are high. All these guys have worked so hard their whole life to get to this position. They just want a chance. They want a chance to change their family, their life, an opportunity to make their dreams come true. So the emotions are high. There's a lot of anxious kids out there today. But it's going to work out for all of them in the end, man. Every one of them has a spot.
The off-season program underway with virtual meetings. How's that been going? I know you've been in working out a little bit. How have those meetings and how has this off-season gone so far on the virtual side?
It's been great. It's always great to get back in the film room with your guys. I can't wait till we're actually in person in the film room, getting to chop it up with each other. But, we're all excited to get back and play football. None of us are reluctant to show back up and to, go out there and get started on meetings and start getting ready for this next season. I think we're all extremely excited. Like I said earlier, you can tell there's a lot of guys that are hungry, a lot of us that want to win football games and get Denver Bronco football back to what it should be. And guys that we're drafting this year, we've already did last night with Patrick, what we're going to do tonight. We all know, Matt, the second-round picks are the big dogs, especially like second-round pick 41. Those are the guys that we really want to get. And I think we're pick 41 tonight. I might be mistaken, but if we are, you better expect for a good football player, man. I don't know what you think.
I think we're at pick 40. So Dalton, I'll get you out of here on this one. I'll let you put the GM hat on for a second. Are we what are we looking at here? Is it offensive line or is it safety, running back? Where do you think the Broncos are going tonight? And you can even throw a Kansas State guy in there if you want to the Broncos at pick number 40 again. Where do you think is going to happen tonight?
Shoot, man. Well, if they're smart, they get someone from Kansas State, man. No, honestly, it's so tough, Matt. That's why I'm not the GM. That's why I'm not one of the coaches. I don't know that stuff. All I can tell you, man, it's not a cliche answer. They know what they're doing. The Denver Broncos are going to bring someone great in that helps our football team. I couldn't tell you who we needed. I love our football team. I think we have lots of talent. So it's awesome that we get to go out and draft, 7, 8 guys this season and add them to a team that I already feel like is extremely talented. So whoever we bring in, whether it's an offensive lineman, wide receiver, running back, tight end, linebacker, safety, D lineman, whatever it may be, we can't wait to have their help. I'm sure that they're going to draft a great kid, and I can't wait to shake these guys' hands and get to work this fall, man.
Well, I know this time a couple years ago, you were very busy getting plenty of phone calls. Today, I know you're very busy with some engagement responsibilities. We'll let you go get to those. But Dalton, we really appreciate you taking some time for us today.
Hey, thank you so much, man. God bless you guys. God bless the Broncos. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity I got 2 years ago. And it's a great feeling to be a part of the family, man. So thank you, everyone, and God bless.
And God bless Dalton Risner. Well, another one of my favorite day 2 guys, the 2016 third-round pick for the Denver Broncos, safety Justin Simmons. He is one of the nicest guys, and yesterday he actually surprised the Denver Broncos Boys and Girls Club with a 2021 NFL draft party.
With the 9th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Pat Surtain Jr.
Justin said last night the kids were eager and excited for the Broncos to make their pick, but mentioned he was so glad George Payton was the GM and not the kiddos at the Boys and Girls Club, because they were throwing out all kinds of wild ideas for Denver's 9th overall pick. Like you all know, Simmons is a 2-time Denver Broncos Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, and he has made it a priority to make an impact in our community, which he does by spending more than 60 hours in our community every single year. Hat tip to him and all the Denver Broncos Boys and Girls Club kiddos who are watching right now. Now let's go ahead and check in with the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. He is standing by with his former teammate Alfred Williams for an update on the Broncos' new corner. Guys?
Alfred Williams, thank you for joining us on the show again today, my good friend.
Oh, it's good to be here, man. It's good to be here. It's always good to be here because I know this is where championships live.
That's right. All right. NFL draft, first pick of the draft. What did you think of the pick?
I'm not going to lie. I really wanted to see Justin Fields here, but what the Broncos are telling everybody out there in Bronco country is that our quarterback room is good, and they have confidence in that room with Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock.
Who's saying that?
That's the coachings. That's the coaches
okay.
and management. I mean, really, that's coaches and management that are telling you that the quarterback room is good. It's solid. So you don't need to improve that room. There could have been an improvement with all the discussions about Aaron Rodgers out there, and who knows how things are going to go down the line. But I do believe that the Denver Broncos did a solid job selecting Surtain, because I do believe that he will be a guy that's going to profile as really a Pro Bowl guy down the line. At 6'2", 200 pounds, 4.41 speed. I think that he's the kind of guy that can handle big receivers. And in this league, you're going to have the guys that are going to be able to handle small receivers, and you need guys who can handle big receivers.
Yeah. So at what point do you think he'll get on the field? I mean, will you think by week 1 he'll be a starter, or do you think he'll be contributing by week 1?
I think that he'll be on the field contributing, but I think it's mostly early on going to be on special teams, because our cornerback unit is one of the strongest units on this team, if not the strongest. Our secondary in general is a strong unit, and it just got even stronger. But we got 2 guys that are on 1-year deals, and you just cannot afford to not have quality cornerbacks when you're in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Now, rolling back around to the quarterback situation, what do you think was going through Drew Lock's mind when we selected Patrick Surtain II?
I think he was nervous.
You think so?
I would have been nervous. I would have been nervous because it would have absolutely told me they hate me.
Oh, really?
Right. If you draft a quarterback in the first round, you're telling everybody that your quarterback isn't good enough to play in this business, and we want to move to this guy eventually. Okay. And that's the way I would have looked at it if I was Drew Lock. So I think it's a vote of confidence. But don't forget now, this quarterback competition is real when you consider that Teddy Bridgewater walked into that room. So nobody's saying that Drew Lock is the starting quarterback. Nobody's saying that Teddy Bridgewater is the starting quarterback. We're going to have us a true competition this year, and I'm happy for it.
Now, question is, would you get a quarterback at a later round in this year's draft?
Well, of course, I love Kyle Trask, the outstanding quarterback from Florida. I mean, the guy is just unbelievable. And maybe a lot of people don't know who he is, but when you start seeing these wide receivers and tight ends come off the board for Florida, there was a guy that was a trigger man for them that was absolutely outstanding. And I do believe, though, that he has a chance to be one of the real stars out of this draft. Kind of like a guy like Brett Favre, who wasn't drafted in the first round but ended up being a Hall of Famer. I think Kyle Trask has that kind of ability to make good, solid decisions and accurate throws.
You know, it's crazy because you say that, and then if a guy goes out and has a great career, you wonder, why didn't teams draft him? You know, why wasn't Tom Brady drafted in the first round? Because people, they don't know. They don't have this down to a science. And that's the funny part about the draft. Nobody really knows who's going to be the superstars of tomorrow.
Well, it depends on fit. It really depends on fit. If you are a coaching staff that don't know how to get the best usage out of a player, then the player is going to look like a bust. And that's the truth. And I hate that we have to go through this whole process. And, you know, it's not like, you know, we're saying that the players are good and all the coaches are bad. But if the fit isn't there, and it's just really hard. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, if a Hall of Fame safety, if they took a Hall of Fame safety like yourself and told you, you know, this week we're playing you as a slot corner, you know, that's just not a good fit. Right. Even though we know that you're a Hall of Fame player, playing you in slot corner is probably not the right thing to do if you're trying to do the best thing for you.
Yeah.
So fit is important in this league, just as important as the talent that's out there on the field.
Okay. Now, last question, Al. What do you think is the position most needed to be addressed going forward in these next 6 rounds of the draft for the Broncos?
Running back.
Running back?
Running back.
Oh, whoa.
Running back.
Oh, whoa. Tell me more about this.
Well, I mean, we got a guy in Melvin Gordon who has got 1 year left of guaranteed money, and then he's gone. So we had a guy in Phillip Lindsay who was his backup. That's gone. So at some point here, you're going to have to make a decision about what kind of runner that you want and get that guy some carries, because next year he's going to be the man.
So you think that's the top need?
The top need? You said some of the needs. You didn't say top need. I would say the top need is linebacker.
Okay.
You know,
Nick Bolton from Missouri.
Yeah, now we could possibly get him in the second round.
Yeah.
So that's possible. That's a possibility that I'm looking forward to. But overall, Water, I'm just happy right now that we have a solid player. But I am not going to lie. I'm going to be watching the play of Fields my entire life because
we had the opportunity to get him.
We had him right there for us at our disposal. And, you know, this is no slight to Surtain, but I got to tell you, it's just rare that you get a guy with that kind of pedigree, that kind of arm strength, that kind of mobility, and he falls to number 11.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I just don't believe that the right things were done today in the NFL draft. Not at number 3, not at number 9, not at number 10.
Yeah.
I think the guy is a top 2 player in this league.
Yeah, I thought so too. And we'll see over the coming years what type of player he becomes. But for now, Alfred, thank you, my man.
My man.
Looking good as always. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk soon, maybe.
No doubt.
What a dynamic duo. All right, guys, don't forget that during the draft, you can take part in the NFL Draft-a-thon, a virtual fundraiser focusing on real issues facing our hardest hit communities. Visit NFL.com/draftathon now to learn more and donate to deserving charities supporting the digital divide, health disparities, food insecurity, and mental health, including suicide awareness.
Suicide is the leading cause of death for youth in the state of Colorado. And so there's a tremendous need for mental health services, and that's where Second Wind Fund really comes in and providing expedited access to potentially life-saving treatment. Thanks to the Broncos, we've been able to increase awareness and visibility of youth mental health, increase our program staff by 200%, and we're able to fully implement strategic initiatives around technology. The support allows us to save more youth from suicide.
Well, Now, like I mentioned earlier in the show, you can actually support these causes right here within our Colorado community by heading to dbron.co/draft and bidding on unique autographed items and memorabilia connected to the Denver Broncos past and present through the Denver Broncos draft auction. There are more than 20 items available to bid on, and all the proceeds will benefit Denver Broncos Charities, the nonprofit arm of the team committed to improving the lives in our community. You have until this Saturday at noon to get your bids in, Broncos country. All right, Sydney, we are just 15 minutes away from the start of round 2. You have to let us know, what is Broncos country saying right now?
Yeah, Alexis, I've been connected with Broncos country on Twitter, on all our social media platforms, all last night and all throughout the day today. You know, they're still talking about Pat Surtain. They're all super excited about him, but a lot of them are still antsy and anticipating who we're going to select tonight. So let's take a look about what Broncos country is saying on Twitter. This is from Jokic Murray, and he's excited to see who we're seeing in the second round. He says he wants Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. We'll see if we can get that linebacker. This one's from Caden Staub. He said, who else is getting a Surtain jersey? He's going to be first in line. I love the enthusiasm, Caden. This next tweet is from Chandler Heiler. He said, with Pat Surtain now a Denver Bronco, where will the Broncos turn on day 2? He wants to see a player like Jabril Cox and Javonte Williams. And all right, this next one is from Luke Patterson. He said, let's go. He's super excited for round 2 and 3 tonight, as we are here at the Denver Bronco headquarters. This next one is from Trot Face. He said, have we all calmed down and realized Pat Surtain is an incredible value for the number 9 pick? Thank you, Trot Face, because everyone has been super excited here. We're all happy he is a Bronco. Keep on tweeting at me, guys, using the hashtag Broncos draft. I'll still be looking throughout the rest of the night. Look forward to it. Alexis, back to you.
Thanks so much, Sydney. Shout out to Luke. Shout out to all of Broncos country who are sending their tweets in. We love hearing what you guys have to say. Now, if you guys were watching closely last night, you might have seen a Broncos diehard, a very familiar one. Ron, the Super Bowl super fan. He's also a draft super fan as well. He's out there in Cleveland representing Broncos country. Steve Atwater and I had the opportunity to chat with him a little bit earlier. Take a listen. Coming at us from Cleveland, Ohio, Ron, you were obviously in the inner circle last night. How are things going?
It's a Ron.
Exhausted. It was amazing last night. The inner circle was so much fun, and everyone had a great time.
Oh, man, so tell us more about the inner circle. What's that all about, man? You know, what all you guys doing out there?
Well, the inner circle, Steve, is a bunch of super avid super fans like myself. My friend Holly, who's from the Cleveland area and flies out to Denver for games, was there. Our friend Randy, aka Poncho, the super fan, was there, and so many others were there, and we just had a blast. And I will also say too, there was a great synergy because coming out of the pandemic, people really, there was just a much different vibe. I've been to 4 of these, and it was just incredible. Fans from other teams interacting, and just like family. Football is family, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, you were there when you heard Roger Goodell say the Denver Broncos select Patrick Surtain at cornerback, Alabama. What was your initial reaction?
I was excited because I knew Patrick's an amazing player, but I'll let you all in on a little secret. Some of our friends have said we kind of looked a little puzzled at the pick, or surprised, or a little delayed. But here's what everyone was thinking. We've all heard the Aaron Rodgers news, and so everyone, the clock was ticking in our heads. San Francisco picked a quarterback, so Denver's going to go quarterback, and so that was the reason for the delay. But Patrick's an amazing player. If you saw him at Alabama.
Thank you so much, Ron. There's no doubt you're one of the most passionate fans in all of Broncos world, as you like to call it. We so appreciate you taking the time. Have so much fun here as round 2 gets underway.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really honored.
Hearing there is some breaking news in Broncos country, so let's go ahead and bring in Phil Milani. Phil, what's the word?
Yeah, Alexis, we just learned that the Broncos have picked up the 5th-year option on Bradley Chubb. We know that the pass rusher is a big part of the Broncos' plans moving forward, and now this decision is going to keep the star pass rusher in orange and blue at least through the 2022 season. Chubb came back from that ACL really well last year, made it to the Pro Bowl, and I think that George Paton has said that he wants him to be a cornerstone of this defense. Now Chubb's going to be here for at least 2 more years.
Thanks so much, Phil. Yeah, that's right. He will be joining Von Miller, whose 2021 player option was picked up by George Paton a little bit earlier this offseason as well. Thank you again for all of you tuning in right now. You are watching Broncos Draft Live presented by Bud Light. Let's go ahead and take a look inside the draft room as George Paton, Vic Fangio, and the entire Broncos front office is getting ready for round 2 of the 2021 NFL Draft. Now, in case you were wondering, here is a look at the round 2 draft order coming up tonight. The Jags, they will start things off, followed by the Jets, Falcons, Dolphins, Eagles, Bengals, and Panthers. Then your Denver Broncos will pick 8th at number 40 overall. You guys, the last time the Broncos picked at number 40 just a few years ago, Sydney mentioned it in the top of the show. 2018, they selected wide receiver Courtland Sutton, and I think we can all agree that worked out pretty well for Denver. Reminder, tonight the clock is not 10 minutes for these teams, 7 minutes on the clock. That's how long they have to make their pick. Well, speaking of 7 minutes, and the guy who's going to have just 7 minutes to make a decision here tonight, Broncos general manager George Paton. He is now standing by with Phil Milani. Phil?
George, got to know what your son thought about the pick. He calls while you guys are on the clock. We think that it's going to be hectic in there, but you're taking a call from your son.
Yeah, I'm going to have to block him, I think. He likes to call when we're on the clock. So last year he got spoiled because he was with me during the draft. So I think this year he thinks, he can have a say like he did last year. But he's happy. He YouTubed Surtain before the draft and after we picked him, so he's all in now.
Great. Okay,
Yeah.
Heading into day 2 here, what are the priorities? I know you mentioned you still think that there's 3 or 4 guys with first-round grades available.
We do. We went through the board last night. There's going to be a really good player there. And we've had some calls, so we have the flexibility to move back. But there's going to be a good player that can help our football team and help them soon.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what you're doing. Thanks, George.
Good.
Appreciate
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks so much, Phil. Now for even more on some of the second-round guys George Paton and the Denver Broncos may be considering here tonight, let's sit it down to Matt Boyer, who's standing by with Broncos lead writer Eric DeLalla.
Thank you, Alexis. Yeah, Eric, you had a great article on denverbroncos.com today about some of the day 2 guys. Let's get into some of these names. A guy who, we didn't necessarily think was going to be there in round 2, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. Why do you think he fell into the second round, and do you think he's an appealing candidate for the Broncos?
Yeah, I think, Matt, he fell because he can kind of play anywhere, but that means you have to figure out where to put him. We saw Arizona struggle a little bit last year with Isaiah Simmons figuring out where do you get him on the field, how do you make things work. But JOK, a really, really good player, played a lot of slot snaps, was able to play safety a little bit, and of course played in the box as a linebacker, the 2020 ACC Defensive Player of the Year. He could be a 3-down guy, Matt, that could cover a Darren Waller, a Travis Kelce. And while maybe at 9, it's a little bit of a stretch because you don't know exactly where he's going to fit, at 40, if he's there, I think it would be a slam dunk.
Defense would be a departure from what the Broncos have done to begin the second round lately. The last 3 drafts, they've gone offense with their first selection in the second round. Some intriguing names. I know running back has been on the mind of our fans a lot lately. Who do you like at the top of the second round for the Broncos, possibly running back?
Yeah, I really like Javonte Williams out of North Carolina. More than 1,000 yards last year and set a school record with 22 total touchdowns. He can do it in the running game, Matt. He can do it in the passing game. And he breaks a ton of tackles and has that home run ability. I think he'd complement Melvin Gordon really, really well. I know they added Mike Boone, who's going to compete for that number 2 spot. But with Gordon, with a guy like Williams, I think you'd have one of the best tandems in the NFL. And if he falls there, it'd be really, really intriguing. I know running back's not a huge need, but man, maybe best player available wins out in that situation.
Steve Atwater compared his running style to Terrell Davis, so that is high praise from number 27. This draft is also deep, though, at offensive tackle. We saw a couple go in the first round. Guys like Liam Eichenberger still there, Tevin Jenkins, Sam Cosmi from Texas. Do you favor one over the other there at offensive tackle?
Well, I just think Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State, he's got versatility. He's played a lot of right tackle, but he's also got probably 5 to 10 starts at left tackle. I think having a swing tackle after Elijah Wilkinson left in free agency would be really, really valuable. Obviously, Juwan James is expected to start at right tackle, but he's played just 3 games and about 60 snaps since signing in 2019. So if you could find somebody that could be a backup in year 1, but maybe in year 2 take over that starting role, that could be valuable as well. And Tevin Jenkins, big guy, 6'5", I think 270 or more than that, 290. So he could be an interesting piece.
Do you think, as far as an edge rusher goes, do you think we could add maybe a guy like Azeez Ojulari possibly?
Yeah, he's a guy that fell too, Matt. I think some people think that he could have been the best or second best edge rusher and fell all the way out of the first round. 4 out of the last 5 picks, Matt, were edge rushers, so there was a little bit of a run. If he goes at 40, it's interesting too because Von Miller under contract for only 1 more year. We now know Bradley Chubb's going to be here through at least 2022, but maybe you get a young pass rusher who needs to develop a little bit, and then you go ahead and put that person in a starting role eventually.
Let's go with your final thought here. 2 names that if picked, you'd be raising a glass after night 2. Give me just 2 names, maybe a couple from the list that we've already mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I'll stay with JOK there, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame, just a great linebacker that I think could fill some needs and help them out. And then I'll go with Javonte Williams too, out of North Carolina, the running back. He's a home run threat. He's fun. I think it would be a slam dunk for them. So either one of those guys, I'd be happy. But let's see some trades, too. Let's get things moving a little bit.
Okay, I like it. I got Javonte Williams for me. That was my guy, UNC. I like the Tar Heel. The North Carolina native. I got to make you happy with that pick. And then Richie Grant from UCF. Steve Atwater loves the physicality, and if Steve Atwater gives us safety the stamp of approval, I am not going to argue there. Let's head back upstairs for a couple of final thoughts.
Thanks so much, Matt. Night 2, the Denver Broncos, they hold the 40th overall selection here tonight. That means they will pick 8th. So I have to bring in my friend Phil Milani. Phil, who do you think the Broncos will take at 40 here tonight?
I'm just like Eric. I'm just like Big Al. I say Javonte Williams. I think that, night 1, you address the defensive side of the ball. Night 2, in the second round here, let's get an offensive weapon. And then in the third round, I really like Javon Holland, a safety out of Oregon. Some people thought maybe he could have gone even in the first round. I think he'll be available there in the third round, and I'd like to see the Broncos address that position as well. Matt?
Phil, you're taking all of my guys here. Javonte Williams, come on now. Yeah, I like the running back from UNC. Richie Grant, another guy. And I like what Eric said about Tevin Jenkins. I think Tevin Jenkins could be a valuable addition to that offensive line room. Let's toss things over to Sydney.
I don't know, guys. I kind of like Trayvon Merrick, safety from TCU. We could definitely add some depth at the safety position. But regardless of who we select tonight in the second round, I'll be interviewing our second round pick live right here on the Broncos Draft Live Show. So make sure to stick around to get his reaction. Alexis?
Thanks so much, Sydney. Really appreciate all of the insight from all of you guys here tonight. We really appreciate it. Broncos picking 40th in the second round, 71st in the third. But we hope you guys will join us after the Broncos make their second round selection. We will be live 10 minutes after they make their pick for instant reactions from George Paton, Vic Fangio, Steve Atwater, and more. Until then, flip on your television and tune in to the NFL Network, ESPN, or ABC for the 2021 NFL Draft live from Cleveland, Ohio. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon, Broncos country.